Let's go to the nation's capital, folks, where the commission established by President Donald Trump to investigate alleged voter fraud has made a stunning ask. They are asking states to turn over personal information of its registered voters. In a letter sent Wednesday to election officials in every state, Christopher Kobach, the vice chairman of Trump's Election Integrity Commission, asked for voter information that includes the first and last name of all registrants, middle names or initials if available, addresses, dates of birth, political party, last 4 digits of the Social Security number, voter history from 2006 onward, active, inactive status, cancel status, information regarding any felony convictions, and information regarding voter registration in another state. Ironically, while Kobach's letter asked states to provide instances of election-related crimes since 2000, it makes no mention of Russian hacking in the 2016 election. Shocking, but it's not. Trump and some of his Republican allies continue to peddle the flat-out lie that there was widespread voter fraud in the November election. Joining us from our Washington, D.C. studio is Kristen Clark, President and Executive Director, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, also there in D.C. Jamia Burley, human rights activist, Deshandra Jefferson, Democratic strategist, Pastor Shannon Wright, third vice chair, Maryland GOP, and with me here in New Orleans, Angela Rye, principal, CEO, Impact Strategies. Kristen, I'll start with you. This ask by the Trump administration is so shameful and stunning. 3 states, California, Virginia, and Kentucky, Secretary of States there have already said they will not be turning over all this information. What in the world is Trump and his folks, Kobach, doing?
This is truly astounding. What the Pence-Kobach Commission unleashed yesterday was essentially a national witch hunt, where they are now asking state officials to turn over extensive information on every voter across the country. It is unclear what this commission intends to use this data for. They want Social Security numbers, date of births, voting history, party registration status on every single voter. And they've also asked state election officials to answer a number of burdensome inquiries. What they're doing truly is laying out a groundwork for voter suppression. This president has issued a dog whistle and encouraged local and state officials across our country to move forward with laws and policies that will make it harder to vote. And this commission serves one purpose only, and that's to breathe life into this voter suppression movement. Late last
Kristen, we also saw, of course, in the last election where, and let folks know what the actual name of it is, where literally they were alleging that there were the duplicate names in different states, as if somehow people don't have the same names. There are other Roland Martins out there, and the way that they allege is, oh, well, if we see a Roland Martin in North Carolina and a Roland Martin in Virginia, we're going to strike him in this state. And Greg Palast says millions of people were taken off voting rolls by what Kobach and his Republican allies were doing.
We have able officials who maintain the registration rolls in their jurisdictions, and they're doing their job just fine and don't need the federal government coming in and combing all of this data together and telling them what to do with it. To me, it's a discredit to the hardworking secretaries of state around our country and local elections boards that carry out their work, which is registering people to vote and maintaining their registration rolls. Late last night,
Shannon, go ahead.
Late last night, the commission announced that they were bringing on Hans von Spakovsky to serve on the commission. I can't think of anything more that this commission can do to make clear that it exists for one purpose, and that is to promote voter suppression across our country.
Shannon Wright, we've talked about this voter suppression for the longest, and this is now taking this thing national. And again, you know, I've challenged Black Republicans to call this party out on what they're doing. I mean, this really is shameful what Trump and Kobach are trying to do to the American people.
You know, there are voting issues. I don't care what anybody says. There are voting issues. However, I've got to say this. I'd be a little bit disturbed and distressed by either party trying to gain so much information. Because for what purpose? Now, if it was truly an innocent goal and purpose, it would be a bipartisan panel, which would still be a little bit disturbing, collecting all that information. But to have either party doing such a thing makes you question what the purpose is. And even if it is truly a benign purpose, the way you go about things, you can be doing something for the right reason and it just look all kind of wrong. And I think that...
Well, here's the deal. I mean, Angela, at the end of the day, what they're doing is flat out wrong here. In Pennsylvania, when they put in voter ID, when they had to file the paperwork with the state, they said we have absolutely no evidence of voter fraud. Texas said they had 12 cases over a decade. This is a lie that they keep putting out there, and they're saying, oh no, this is to protect. But all of a sudden, the allegations of voter fraud only started coming up nationally with the election of President Obama in 2008.
Well, and I think the other challenge that we have is this is supposed to be a commission on an election integrity, an election that probably had the least amount of integrity as much as I can remember. I mean, going back to 2000, even there weren't these level of issues. I think the other challenge that I am wrestling with is the fact that Attorney General Jeff Sessions has a history of trying to prosecute folks for voter fraud in Alabama, civil rights leaders. So we know what their intentions are. This isn't anything more than, it's not even just a dog whistle, it's a foghorn. Like, this is very clearly, for us, I think, a call to action to fight back and say, no, we actually have voting rights in this country that we need to preserve. And activists like Kristen have worked hard for several years now to make sure we're aware of that.
Jameer?
No, I fully agree, and I think one thing we need to keep into context is that these inquiries are not made in silos. Like, it's made considering the national conversation that is happening around whether or not Trump colluded with the Russian government in regards to the presidential election. And so in that context, it makes it even harder and even scarier to think that he's requesting this personal information from people around the country who already feel intimidated when they show up to the voting booth. And so I think we really need to hold Republicans accountable to ensure that if many states are probably going to go forward with this inquiry and provide the information, that information is kept very privately and it's not used to continue to suppress individuals' ability to actually access the voting booth.
Deshandra?
I'm very proud of my governor. I live in Virginia. Terry McAuliffe has stood up and said he is not going to comply with this. I mean, listen, folks, we all know that voter fraud is relatively rare. But what is not rare is the GOP's attempts to keep people who look like me, keep people who look like everyone on this panel from voting. That's the real issue with voter fraud that we have in this country. You know, we had someone like a John Lewis who marched across the bridge 50 years ago, standing up for his rights, and people who look like him across the South. Now, the tactics have changed, but it's the same thing that they're aiming to do, is to keep certain people out of the polls.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And so, look, we're going to keep the focus on this. We're not going to be silent about it and cover this as best that we can.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.